Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Off and running, welcome in. After further review here on a Tuesday, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona for the foreseeable future. Actually, Scone's going to be out for a while, but he'll be back. He's up in New York City this week and then heads off to vacation the week after that. So you got me for the majority of July here on AFR. Braxton Rizzuto, Cassie Spazzali along for the ride. And glad that you are as well. While Matt heads out on trips, I just got back from one. Pretty eventful. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. But we got a lot to do here as we close out the month of June. Got big recruiting updates coming, really starting tomorrow. Shea Dixon, quick programming note, has to bump to tomorrow, but we'll dive into some of what we should look forward to this week with LSU recruiting and then catch up with Shea on Wednesday. Some really interesting metrics out today about Sam Leavitt, so we'll dive into that as well. NBA free agency starts in 2 hours. We'll get a primer with Jake Madison of Locked On Pels, what to expect maybe here from the Pelicans offseason now that the NBA draft is in the rear view. A potential free agent signing still on the board for the New Orleans Saints. Just a ton to get to here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. It's my Monday, but let us begin as we do every single week.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, and we will start with the recruiting. So, as you know, recruiting dead period right now. Official visits have all wrapped up, so now you enter the dead period. This is also where you end up seeing plenty of commitments. And Wednesday, July 1st, is a massive day for announcements. In fact, Rivals has a 3-hour special or so on their YouTube channel Wednesday that's just commitment announcements. They're calling it Rivals Summer Signing Day. So I guess technically now we have 3 signing days, right? You had summer and the traditional and all of that. So that gets started at 11 a.m. Wednesday and runs until we come on air at 3 p.m. So it's a full day. And LSU is expecting some pretty good news on Wednesday in the form of Jaden Andy. So he is part of the 4-hour live special who announced on the Rivals YouTube channel. And if you're unfamiliar with Jaden Andy, 4-star safety out of Ruston. His brother Aiden is on LSU's football team currently. Kansas State will have a hat on the table as well. But from all accounts, this is now an LSU Ole Miss battle with LSU trending to land the commitment of Andy for a lot of different reasons, right? I mean, obviously you can look at his brother being on the team. They obviously played together in high school, chance to play together in college. That matters. But something I was actually looking forward to talking with Shea about today that we won't get the chance is just the relationship that the Andy family has with LSU's staff and how long both brothers have been on the radar of the staff, given, Aiden already being with the Tigers. But it's kind of a unique thing because while they both play in the defensive secondary, they obviously played different positions in high school and were recruited to different positions at LSU. So when you look at Aiden Andy, his primary recruiter when he came out of high school was Corey Raymond because he came out as a cornerback. We all know the impact that Corey Raymond has on the recruiting trail with players, with families, with all that. It's well documented. Well, with Jaden Andy being a safety, his primary recruiter has been Jake Olson. So that is a family that has heard pitches and formed relationships with every corner and angle of LSU staff, position coach-wise, that coaches the secondary. That's massive, and that normally doesn't, it feels rare, all right? Like that just feels rare. Sometimes you see brothers go elsewhere. Sometimes you see brothers on different sides of the football. But to have two guys in the defensive secondary playing different positions and getting the full force of the weight of that behind the recruitment, that's interesting. So that's something that's definitely working in the favor there. So it's a big family pull there as you would expect. Of course, he's a top 25 safety nationally, top 10 prospect in Louisiana, regardless of position. All of those things, 4-star that you would expect to see out of the state of Louisiana and trending towards LSU secondary. So good news is expected there, obviously. Now, that's Andy. You push forward to Thursday and July 2nd, and summer signing day continues in a sense. And that's where you find North Carolina's Davion Jones. Remember, if you're unfamiliar, Chase talks about Davion Jones plenty on this show in his weekly appearances and will again when he's with us on Wednesday. Jones is a teammate of the nation's number one cornerback, Joshua Dobson. Both were on LSU's radar. When Dobson and LSU decided to go different ways in their recruitment, all the attention really focused in on Davion Jones. I know Shay had a write-up earlier at On 3. He mentioned, while Corey Raymond canceled his trip to go see Dobson, Jake Olson and Blake Baker still kept theirs and went up there and saw Davion Jones. This one's whittled down to LSU, South Carolina. South Carolina got the last official visit a weekend ago. He did make an OV to LSU, as we know, and we've talked about here. But the interesting thing is he's moved his commitment date up. This was supposed to be towards the end of July. It will now be July 2nd. And in moving that up, or I should say, when he made the decision to move it up, there's a lot of smoke around LSU in the recruitment in Davion Jones, which, hey, what does Shay say here all the time? He says it here on this show. Says it probably anywhere he goes. I know he's told Hanny and I this on Eagle Game Day plenty. When it comes to recruiting, watch what they do, not what they say. Well, when there's smoke around one team and that guy moves his decision date up, it lends you to believe that a decision has already been made there and he's ready to make it public now. So that's another one that you feel really good about with LSU there. So, I mean, you're looking at 2 4-star safety targets for LSU that they're expecting big announcements from here this week, starting with Aiden Anding on Wednesday. For what it's worth, with Jones, it's not just Shay's prediction. I mean, Chad Simmons, who's a national recruiting analyst, put a rivals prediction in for Davion Jones to LSU and had it at 95%. So I mean, that's massive there. And again, great job by Jake Olson and staff really honing in on this. So again, 4-star, highly ranked, all of those guys. What's going to be interesting over the next couple of days is LSU will have hats on the table for others, guys that we've mentioned, guys that have taken OVs. Maybe you get a surprise here or there, but it certainly seems like Anding, Jones, those are the 2 guys to really watch over the next 2 days to expect good news for LSU. And look, the Tigers have been on an absolute heater on the recruiting trail, really at all positions. Even corner. Safety's kind of been the spot where you haven't seen them pop one yet. That certainly seems like it's about to change here in the next 24 hours or so when it gets underway with Jaden Anding's announcement on Wednesday. We'll keep you posted. Shay will be here with us on Wednesday's show to react to everything, preview Davion Jones, where LSU goes next at multiple positions, because you saw, of course, late Friday, Albert Simeon pops for Notre Dame. Well, the way LSU's kind of structured this offensive line class and whatnot, where might they go next? Where do they stand for the multiple targets that they're attempting to flip? Like a Jalen Brewster from Texas Tech. That's on the defensive side, but they've got plenty of guys they're in on in the flip game too. So we'll get a full update on all of that tomorrow when Shay's with us. But that's just a primer there for you for the announcements and the good news expected for LSU. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We'll continue to talk some Tiger football. Some pretty interesting metrics dropping over at On 3 about Sam Leavitt and how it might kind of show you where he fits best in this Lane Kiffin offense as training camp and the season opener, September, against Clemson, fast approaches. We'll get into that next here on AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Yes, hormone replacement therapy. Yes, NAD+. Yes, BPC 157. Yes, ED treatment. The bottom line is, gentlemen, I don't care how old you are, it's about how old you feel, and do you want to feel like you did when you were younger? Do you want to live a more vital life? Do you want to live a more energetic life, where you wake up in the morning, your feet hit the floor, and you're rip-roaring ready to go, where you're motivated to get in the gym, where you have a great libido, where you have great mindset, energy, mental clarity, memory, all that sort of stuff? It's possible. It's affordable. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness can help you do it. Hormone replacement therapy could be a giant part of that for you. NAD Plus can literally help your cellular optimization to make you younger at a cellular level. BPC 157, tremendous in helping in recovery. Learn more. yourgoodwood.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Summer is here. Maybe you're looking to upgrade that ride before the family road trip. Get on by South Point Volkswagen, airline just north of Highland, or online at southpointvw.com. Southpointvw.com. Told you for years, they're Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. Maybe you need that full-size family SUV. Make sure you go test drive the Atlas. That's what Erica drives. It's the 3-row, 7-seater family SUV. Tons of space to accommodate our family, all our bags, all the beach stuff as well. Go test drive one today at South Point Volkswagen. Remember, you can shop them online, new and certified pre-owned. So if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, great selection. Say it all the time. They're the largest volume Volkswagen dealer. They move more new inventory, so they have more pre-owned trade-in inventory as well. So make sure you shop their pre-owned vehicles over at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland or southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction?
All right, back here after further review on a Tuesday presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. It is June 30th, which means it is just talking season when it comes to football. I mean, NFL alike. College, NFL, doesn't matter. You're breaking down schedules. You're looking at who's got the best odds to win the Super Bowl or the college football playoff, all of those things. And it's lists and all of that. What we tend to try to do is find pieces that center around metrics. There's a really good one from Clark Brooks over at On 3 today about LSU's quarterback, Sam Leavitt. So a brief background on what this is. This is Clark Brooks's quarterback impact study. He's done this over a few years now. And what it basically is it looks at the metrics that matter against the opponents that are the best. Looking at a quarterback's metrics, performance, all of that against the best opponents that he faced. And there's a ranking structure to it based on what these quarterbacks' metrics spit out and all of that. And he's been releasing these really kind of like one at a time. It isn't just a full list. Like earlier you saw Gunnar Stockton today. A little bit later on the day, Sam Leavitt. That's what we obviously want to focus in on here is Sam Leavitt, which, by the way, he was impact quarterback number 2 in this. So Clark Brooks, while there is some negative in what the film and the metrics and all that showed for Leavitt a year ago, albeit small sample size, injury-riddled season as well, him coming in as impact quarterback number 2 shows obviously a lot of upside, and it really gives you, this really paints a nice picture of how he can fit and where he can really excel in Lane Kiffin's offense. So if we're just looking at his impact study grades, overall it was a B+, but his ceiling, A-. You get A- Sam Leavitt. He plays up to his ceiling this year. You're really going to like where LSU ends up. That's me stating the obvious. Yes, I know. But what's super encouraging is while the ceiling's an A-, the floor came out rated B. And overall, he's B+. So it shows you a lot of untapped potential there as well. The things that you would expect to stand out did, his accuracy, his mobility, his arm, the processing, and his ability to handle pressure, those were really the low points. Let's actually start there. Let's start with the low points, and I'll be as concise as I can with this. The majority of the low points that Clark Brooks highlights in this piece with the metrics come with Sam Leavitt playing in structure. The drop back passing game just isn't quite where you wanted it to be. 2024 to a degree, but definitely in 2025. He notes he's not as potent. The accuracy remained, but there was an uptick in interceptables. Things were, short of the sticks. Plus the success rate for Sam Leavitt in structure landed on the backside of the impact average. And Clark Brooks noted that's for the second straight season. So including 2024. So obviously in efficiency in structure, that's an area that he really needs to improve. The potential is there. Like, he has the skills to do it. But throws come in short of the sticks. His gaze, vision kind of gets out of whack a little bit, which Clark Brooks notes. Does that raise some concern for the full field reads that come along with Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss's offense, and trying to squeeze a few throws there? He notes, though, that it's not going to impact, while those concerns are there, I think of a better way to say this, while those concerns are there, they're minimized because of the success with screens, RPOs, play actions, all of that. But, again, the concern comes because his accuracy has remained, which, what did we say earlier, was like an A or a B+. It was one of his best tools. The problem is really the decision-making, the vision, getting through reads, pre-snap leverage, all of those things where more interceptables come in. It's throws that end up short of the sticks, a single-digit explosive pass rate, and that's with the terrific placement of the football. Down-to-down consistency is where it needs to improve there. That's the bad. But the good in these metrics that Clark Brooks put out today far outweigh the bad. Let's start with play action. It is where Leavitt excels probably the most. He's able to turn his back, flip around, and really find his target in stride, deliver the accurate ball. Over the last two impact studies, in terms of explosive to interceptable ratio, when talking about play action, it is 19-1. 19 explosive plays to 1 interceptable throw. That's fantastic. And if you're wondering, man, how does that fit into Lane Kiffin's offense? Flawlessly. Lane Kiffin's offense has had a play action rate of over 30% for 3 straight seasons. So you're taking one of Sam Leavitt's greatest skills and plugging it into an offense that features that at such a high level. On top of that, you look at the accuracy in throwing the ball downfield. So you got to remember, Sam Leavitt doesn't have the biggest arm. He's not the biggest guy. Stature-wise, he's, that's actually part of what's maybe hurt some of his vision and things of that nature. But it's the accuracy on the throws that cancels that out. And look, he's got the arm strength in there to get it 50 yards downfield and things of that nature. But if you're just looking at this metric that throughout this is each of the last 2 impact studies on Sam Leavitt, depth-adjusted accuracy. So what that is, that applies more weight to throws further down the field. In each of the last 2 impact studies, his accurate depth-adjusted accuracy cracked 59%. And his percentage this year of 59.2 in this impact study was the best among all Power 4 quarterbacks. So again, you factor that into play action, his ability there, the accuracy down the field, and Lane Kiffin's willingness and love, as a matter of fact, to use it and call it. That's massive going forward for Sam Leavitt here. Now, what's the other thing we've heard Lane Kiffin talk about so much with Sam Leavitt? We started this with his struggles in structure. But what Lane Kiffin has talked about so much, what is it? It's his ability when the play breaks down, out of structure plays. And the arm accuracy goes into that as well. Him being able to escape and look downfield, that's creating a bunch of explosive plays for him as well. It's in here in that metric. But the really good thing is the mobility and the pressure. So Leavitt was one of three Power 4 quarterbacks examined for this impact analysis. One of three to bring a +9 yard per average and +60% success rate on scrambles in this study. It speaks to his ability to really go when the play breaks down, something that Lane Kiffin has gushed about. And furthermore, when Lane Kiffin has talked about what he's looking for in a quarterback, the ability that the quarterback has to have to make those off-play schedules, specifically in the game of football, but in his offense as well. At the time of his injury, no player in college football commanded a better EPA per run than Sam Leavitt, and half of his designed runs resulted in a set of first downs or a set of fresh downs, or 6 points or touchdowns. First downs or touchdowns. Half of his designed runs. Play action, mobility, he excels there. And it's not just the run again, it is the explosive play down the field where you look at this and having the green light to look down, almost a quarter of his attempts on the run down the field netted at least 20 yards. There is a lot of explosiveness in there. I recommend going read through the entire piece. It's free over at On3, and I mean, you can look through all the other ones, Gunnar Stockton, all the other ones that he's put forth, and see how Leavitt stacks up. But the thing I take from that is, all right, what we've heard Lane Kiffin preach about his offense, what we've watched in Lane Kiffin's offense, Sam Leavitt does very well. I look at Lane Kiffin's offense, I say, yes, it's a lot to take in, but man, it also just has always been really quarterback friendly, knowing where to go with the ball. When Sam Leavitt knows where to go with the ball, his accuracy, he can get it there, no problem. Downfield, short, anyway. You could look at them, ask him to do more of that early in the season to get him comfortable. Because again, this is a guy who missed the majority of spring. Now, he's dunking in the goalpost. He's fully cleared. All of that, that's great. And fall camp's going to be huge for him. But when you look at LSU early in the season, when you face Clemson, when you have to go to Ole Miss, you're going to see them really accentuate Sam Leavitt's strength because it's going to give them the best chance to win, and it's what he's the best at. And later in the year, that's where you get to November, and hopefully you're playing for an awful lot in November. Hopefully that's when you can start to see the improvements in the drop back passing, in him playing more in structure. This is a guy who's got 2 years. It's his first year in a new system, misprint, all of those things. It stands to reason there's going to be some type of growing pains. There always is. Joe Burrow, you go back to there, 2018. First year as a starter, it was a slow build. But once you got to November, man, light bulb went off for Joey B, and that's when you really started to see him turn into the player that he became at LSU. Jaden Daniels. Go back to the Tennessee game. Jaden's first season as the starter, that 11 a.m. kickoff. And that's when the narrative was, man, he won't throw the ball down the field. He won't push the ball down the field. The very next week at Florida, you see him push the ball down the field, and he really starts to develop into that player. That Tennessee game was early in the year. Midway through, you started to see the signs, and then very next season, bam, Heisman Trophy. I'm not telling you that Sam Leavitt's going to win the Heisman Trophy this year. I'm saying look for him to potentially follow a similar path, but for LSU and Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss to really exploit and hone in on what he does extremely well early while developing and working those other facets of his game to really help him improve to where you get to November and, man, maybe you look up and you see a much more polished player in the pocket and in structure than what you've seen at Arizona State for 2 seasons before he gets here. And again, given his lack of reps in spring, it stands to reason that that's just a normal timeline that you would probably see. But number 2 impact quarterback in these metrics, when you combine them all for Clark Brooks at On 3, that's not an opinion. That's objective data. And that's really encouraging, especially when you quantify that with what Lane Kiffin does in his offense. Sam Leavitt should be a very, 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 very impactful player for LSU this year, and he's going to have to be for them to reach the heights that they want to. Clemson, week 1. It gets closer and closer and closer. As I think we're 77 days now from the opener for LSU. Sam Leavitt will be out there. It'll be very interesting to see how the early season goes for him. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We'll go around the SEC. Walter Camp, we mentioned talking season. They're the first batch of preseason All-Americans. LSU landed a couple on that. We'll tell you about that as we go along here. Around the SEC is next on AFR, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
AFR.
Brought to you by Glow Resources. If you are a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a VP, an ops manager, if you're the person in charge of hiring at your job, at your place of business, and you're having trouble finding the right people, you need Glow Resources. And I want to remind you, Glow Resources, they're exceptional when it comes to skilled blue-collar workers and also white-collar divisions. Remember, Glow Resources has a full professional placement division. So we're talking about office administrators, executive-level assistants, assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job. Accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, supervisor roles. If you're having trouble finding those people and sometimes hard to fill roles, Glow Resources specialize. They recruit nationwide. For example, they had a Baton Rouge company that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online today. glowresources.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Rolling along here, AFR, after further review on a Tuesday edition. Musso in for Moscona. Scone's in NYC this week. And then we are off on Friday for the 4th of July. So you have us here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll be back on Monday to continue a full week there of AFR. Been a good show so far. A lot of LSU football here as they have some recruiting announcements coming up starting on Wednesday. And we just wrapped up a really good chat about Sam Leavitt and expectations in his fit and Lane Kiffin's offense with some metrics that On 3 released earlier today. Plenty more to do here on today's show. But for now, we'll go ahead and go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia has landed right-handed pitcher Riley Goodman out of the transfer portal. He comes from the University of South Carolina. 5th right-handed pitcher commit for Georgia out of the portal. Swing player kind of for the Gamecocks pitching staff in 2026. Made 7 starts, including the opening day start, as a matter of fact. Pitched in 12 games, 22 innings, 25 hitters struck out in those 25 innings pitched. He'll head to Athens.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
More SEC transfers here. Manny Marin has transferred from Tennessee to Arkansas. Starting shortstop for the Vols a year ago. .976 fielding percentage in 52 starts at short. Just 5 errors, 291, 9 homers, and 43 RBI. He is a draft-eligible sophomore, so he could be picked in this July's draft. If not, he will head to Arkansas. Those are his 2 options, professional baseball or Arkansas. So Hogs and Dave Van Horn got themselves a pretty good defensive shortstop there in Manny Marin.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina has also landed an SEC baseball transfer. This one, former Auburn outfielder Bristol Carter. He announced that news Monday evening on social media. Became South Carolina's third transfer edition on Monday, as a matter of fact. He'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining due to the new age guidelines there for the NCAA. Started his career at East Carolina, spent the last 2 seasons at Auburn. In his 3 years, 298, 6 homers, 69 RBIs. Great versatility, though. He's played all 3 outfield spots at the collegiate level. A career .985 fielder, just 4 errors in 155 games. He heads to South Carolina.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Mississippi State has flipped Tupelo linebacker Devontre Brewer. They flipped him from Stanford. He committed to the Cardinal earlier in the month. A 3-star linebacker by all 3 major recruiting services, rated by Rivals as the number 16 overall recruit in the state of Mississippi for the class of 2027. He was with Stanford. He will now be a Bulldog.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
And Oklahoma, they have rescheduled their season opener against UTEP to Friday, September 4th at 7 p.m. Central. Game was originally scheduled for Saturday, September the 5th, but they opted to move the game to Friday night because they wanted it to be a night game. This is a real LSU move right here, quite honestly. If the game had stayed on Saturday, it likely would have been given an early kickoff. They preferred the night game, so they move it to Friday at 7 p.m. Also, it gives them an extra day of preparation and recovery for their trip up to Michigan in week number 2. So instead of beating the snot out of UTEP on Saturday, September 4th, Oklahoma will beat the snot out of the UTEP Miners on Friday, September 4th. There you have it. That is Around the SEC. It's After Further Review, presented by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Musso in for Moscona. Gotta admire it, man. Just finding creative ways to get get night games up there in Norman. Again, kind of right out of the LSU playbook there. We prefer to give our fans a night game, and we're just going to move it to Friday. You got an opening for us, ESPN? Hey, ESPN, you got an opening for the University of Oklahoma? Yeah? Got that in your wheelhouse? All right, cool. We're going to move the game then. It's going to be at night. Let the Sooner fans get all riled up and go out there and watch them just absolutely destroy UTEP. Maybe since LSU hates playing day games in September, maybe they can pull some of that a little bit. Doubt it, because, TV windows and whatnot. But maybe. Imagine if LSU would have just been like, you know what, UCLA, let's just play that on a Friday instead of the Saturday. Let's move it to a Friday, and it won't be, 135 degrees and half the stadium won't pass out. Keep an eye on that in the future, maybe. LSU, write that one down. All right, we're due for a top-of-the-hour break here, go into the last segment break. But first, a word from Matt on Our Lady of the Lake.
Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, as we say, together we roar. Part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System. And, I love telling you about Our Lady of the Lake because whenever we talk about healthcare, Our Lady of the Lake understands the 2 things primarily that people want are access and convenience. And they knock that out of the park. Whether it be at the Regional Medical Center, if it's the Lake After Hours, if it's any of the specialty services that you may need, heart, stroke, cancer, pediatrics, you want the best. You want Our Lady of the Lake. You can learn more about the Championship Health Partnership, OLOLRMC.com/LSU, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU, together we roar.
All right, we're going to get to the Walter Camp preseason All-Americans here in the next segment. Plenty more to get to. Y'all realize that we are 11 days away from the Major League Baseball draft? Just 11 days away. That gets underway Saturday, July 11th at 1 p.m. First 4 rounds, and then 5 through 20 the next day on Sunday, and then MLB All-Star Week gets underway. We are 11 days away. We have an updated mock draft that I want to get to for Major League Baseball. I'll give you some LSU thoughts there, the flavor in there as well, risers, movers, all those types of things, signees and otherwise for LSU. So we'll do that at the bottom of hour number 2. So make sure you're here for that. And it's an extensive mock. I mean, it is a full 2-round mock with competitive balance rounds in there as well. It's 75 picks. So it's one of the more expansive that we've been able to see so far. So I do want to go through that. NBA free agency officially gets underway in about an hour and 15 minutes or so right here. So Jake Madison will be here at 4:15. Give us a primer. What to expect for the New Orleans Pelicans as Jamal Mosley and Joe Dumars look to remake that roster and get it to a place where hopefully it can compete for some type of postseason action. They certainly have a lot of players. And then tease it a little bit at the top of the show, do it again. Is there one more potential free agent that the Saints could add between now and training camp? We'll tell you who that is and talk about that a little bit later on in the show as well. Right now, we'll grab a break, come back on the other side. We will close out hour number 1 of AFR. Looking at some preseason All-Americans. A couple interesting names on there for LSU. Talk about that next here to close it out.
After further review.
DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com, DuplessisPools.com. Go to DuplessisPools.com and start building your dream pool today. DuplessisPools.com. Hat tip to my friend Derek Duplessis and the great staff, as for the second consecutive year, Duplessis Pools was named a top 50 pool builder in America by Pool and Spa magazine. As a matter of fact, Duplessis Pools was the only pool builder in the state of Louisiana to receive that honor. DuplessisPools.com is the website, DuplessisPools.com. Yesterday was awesome. Me, Erica, Drew spent part of our Sunday cooling off in the pool. Might have had a cold Bud Light or two. It's a great way to spend those summer days. Great way to have parties, showpiece. That dream can be your reality as well. But start at DuplessisPools.com. You can design your pool online. You can finance it online. Pay for it right now. It's DuplessisPools.com. Check them out online. It's DuplessisPools.com.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. You know, when we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding. And now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at ReliefWindows.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1 here of AFR on a Tuesday. Musso in for Moscona. Talking season, full effect. College football, NFL too, but we're focusing on college right here. And we have our first batch of preseason All-Americans. Yes, on June 30th, we have our first batch of preseason. We are 77 days away from week 1 openers, obviously a little bit closer to week 0. But we have our first batch of preseason All-Americans. They come from Walter Camp, and there is some LSU flavor here on this list. You go to the you start with the first team. One LSU player lands on the first team. You can probably guess who it is. That's Trey Green as the first team tight end. Man, there are certain years when you go into a season and it's just like, man, it's that player's time. Right? You can really pick and choose and go, all right, breakout season coming for that guy. Sometimes that lives up to expectations. Sometimes, obviously, it doesn't. And there's a lot of guys on LSU's team this year that you could really point to and say that. I think many would look at Harlan Berry and say, okay, man, the way he ended the season a year ago by really taking hold of that running back one role, you look at what Lane Kiffin was able to do with Kejuan Lacey, could be time for Harlan Berry. But all the players you look through with this and you go, okay, man, it's there. I don't know if there's been one that just jumps off the page more than Trey Green. This is a guy who a quarter of his receptions in 2 seasons at LSU, a quarter of his receptions in his 2 seasons at LSU have gone for 6 points. They've been touchdowns, a quarter of them. And what you saw a year ago from Tre'Davious Green was obviously an expanded role. I mean, the guy went from 13 receptions as a freshman to 33 receptions as a sophomore. But in doing so, you saw the big playability from him too. Everyone likes to make the joke about, oh, yeah, he's 6'7". Have you heard Tre'Davious Green is 6'7"? Because everyone, just gushes about that because, my goodness, it's a 6'7" freak of nature out there at the tight end position. But what you really were able to saw was the athletic ability that goes along with that, the speed, all of that, and the big play aspect. 7 touchdowns led LSU's teams. His long was 42 yards. You put that into the Lane Kiffin offense, which tight ends have excelled in, especially the last 2 seasons at Ole Miss. Go back to 2024. It was Caden Priest-Corn and Daquan Wright. And in 2024, those two combined for 54 receptions, 795 yards to go along with a combined 7 touchdowns, which Tre'Davious Green had on his own a year ago, by the way. You go to just last year and we look at Daquan Wright's production in Lane Kiffin's offense. 39 receptions, 635 yards, and 5 scores. Explosive plays as well, a long of 64. Tre'Davious Green obviously has that ability. He averaged 13 yards per reception a year with a long of 42. For all the guys that we've looked at in the preseason and been like, it's their time, year 3, breakout season coming. I don't know if you can really see it more clearly than you can with a guy like Tre'Davious Green. Provided he's healthy, expect a massive year. This will not be the only preseason All-American list you see him land on the first team, and I'm betting if he's healthy and the production is what we think it's going to be and can really project it to be given what we've seen in Lane Kiffin's offense and without, you're going to see him a lot of postseason first-team All-American list as well. And potentially hear his name called day 1 of the draft next April. Could just be an absolute massive season. So congratulations to Tre'Davious Green there. You go to the second team, that's where you find the next LSU Tiger, and that is Jordan Seaton, your left tackle. Second team All-American by Walter Camp. The left side of LSU's line feels like it's just going to be really, really, really strong. I'm very curious to see how Seaton fits in there. I mean, by all accounts, he looked great in the spring. The shape he's gotten himself into. You talk about a projected first-round draft pick come next April. I mean, he's on all of those lists here in the summer leading into that draft. You got a long way to go, but that's the ceiling from him. And, you look at the left side of your line. I mean, Bo Bordelon really took hold of that left guard spot there in the spring. We'll see if that really continues here in the fall and whatnot. But Seaton definitely looking to be an anchor there. I mean, you went out and got 2 high-priced guys in Leavitt and Seaton at your 2 top positions, your 2 most important positions really on offense, left tackle and quarterback, and Jordan Seaton raking in the preseason honors as well. So congratulations to he and Tre'Davious Green, first team All-American for Green, second team All-American for Jordan Seaton respectively. You're going to continue to see those guys' names pop up there, both primed for massive seasons in their draft year for LSU. All right, due for a top of the hour break here, but first, Matt, with a word on First South Farm Credit.
First South Farm Credit, firstsouthland.com, firstsouthland.com. Thinking of buying land, your first call should be to First South Farm Credit. Firstsouthfarmcredit.com, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. Hey, remember, always encourage you to go to the website, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. If you're a farmer, no doubt you know about First South Farm Credit because they've been helping farmers buy agriculture land for more than 100 years. But if it's maybe it's that hunting property. Maybe it's just your recreational property in Mississippi. Maybe you want to go buy a ranch in Montana. They can help you buy land anywhere in the lower 48. Buying land is different than buying a home. You know that. So trust the people who have helped Louisianans buy land for more than 100 years. First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthfarmcredit.com, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. One more time, firstsouthfarmcredit.com. Your first call should be to First South Farm Credit.
All right, that's just about 1 hour in the books here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. Flew by, a lot of football talk. We're actually going to continue the football talk when we get back. I want to talk about LSU's schedule a little bit. And it was kind of strange the way I stumbled upon this today. But I feel like I just have a vastly different opinion of LSU's schedule than everybody else. So we'll do that after SportsCenter gets you caught up on national headlines. Hour 2 is next.
After further review.
We're brought to you by Supper Club. You can book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. One of the things about Supper Club that I love is if you want to go to Supper Club and be a baller, you can do it. You want to go to Supper Club and order a $5,000 bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, you can do it. You want to go have $400 shots of cognac, you can do it. You can have experiences at Supper Club that usually are reserved for Las Vegas and New York and Paris and Abu Dhabi. Like, that's here in Baton Rouge. But the thing you got to remember as well, if you want to go to Supper Club and have the best steak of your life and have a few appetizers, a dessert, bottle of wine, you can do it as affordably as any other restaurant in town. But the experience at Supper Club is unmatched. Introduced open seating at the bar, first come, first serve. So if you knock off of work, you want to head by Supper Club, you can walk in without a reservation,